Opportunity for him to get it in front of his home crowd. Every single thing is happening as we say good morning to you here on Cricket Live with Sunil Gavaskar and Justin Langer. But that's just the way that it rolls. I mean, it is a session that has definitely gone Australia's way. The way you look at the target, not enough in terms of defending it, but 3 wickets that India have taken gives them a little bit of a spring in your step, Sunny G, as you walk back into lunch.
Definitely, yes. I think they're still in the game. But they need to get rid.
Let's talk about that bowler on your screen there, Prasidh Krishna, because the news at the start of the day, we know that Jasprit Bumrah went
front foot. It's one of the challenges we see in the modern game, that so many players look to get on the front foot all the time, not play off the back foot.
There was so much anticipation to build up the wicket of Steve Smith because he was 1 away from 10,000. He would have got it here in his home ground, and Prasidh Krishna. And just the way that he was. I mean, Prasidh Krishna comes in, steams in, he's got a little bit of a height. How big was that moment in the perspectives of this day?
Well, I was sitting, we were talking, Sonny and I had the privilege to be sitting next to the little master. We had Ricky Ponting over our left shoulder. I saw Alan Border here earlier in the day. Steve Waugh's been here, so we've been waiting for this 10,000 club to be increased to 15. It's a very privileged club, as we know. And then it was almost, as Sonny said, it was almost like when Sir Donald Bradman got out for a duck in his last ever innings, not to average 100. So it was a big moment, but it's, look, it's probably...
Bowling a good line. He started off by bowling on the pads and was taken for a few runs. There were a few wides as well. There are 15 extras in this total. You cannot really have 15 extras. There are certain things that, at this level you should be able to control. One is a no ball. There's no excuse for a no ball because you're professional cricketers. You cannot bowl a no ball. I know this is a bug. They have to really come out and bowl at great speed, and they lost their control.
And that's something you're missing, Bumrah's control and experience, because the session when Australia's openers walked out, they were quick runs.
Well, we've seen, particularly on this pitch, Bumrah would be almost unplayable on this pitch. Honestly, he would be almost unplayable. This has been an extreme wicket. Sonny talks a lot about it. If it was in India spinning like this, everyone would be talking about it. But this has seamed around all over the place. So Bumrah would be almost impossible to play, and that's one thing I'd say. The second thing is, if Prasad wants to become a great bowler with his height, he's got the attributes. But I think about someone like Glenn McGrath. If he wants to develop, I haven't seen a lot of him in the past, but he's got to work on that consistency, that control and that discipline. Again, if he was able to come out after lunch and find that, he would also be incredibly hard to play. But he's younger, he's not as experienced, he's obviously not as skilled as Bumrah, but that's what India need. If they want to win this test match and draw the series, these next 2 hours on this pitch must be about disciplined, controlled, focused, fast bowling.
It's also the options. 91 runs, Sunny G, is what Australia need. We went into this test match with a lot of our analysts thinking that India were a bowler short. You should have gone with a specialist. You don't have a Jasprit Bumrah. You have your 2 seamers. Then what are your options?
Well, that's exactly it. You saw the pitch. The pitch was green. And they, of course, had Nitish Reddy in mind, and he picked up 2 wickets for you in the first innings. So they thought of him as the 4th bowler. But you really want a 4th bowler on a surface like this who will give you more overs and who will also pick you more wickets. That is what they didn't have. If they had, say, somebody like a Harshit Rana also in the 11, then everybody would have been able to bowl those lovely short bursts, 4 or 5 overs, and be fresh again for another spell after the others had bowled 5 overs from, and maybe change of ends. That could have happened. But they decided to go with Washington Sundar because what Washington Sundar brings is a little bit of batting ability. On this surface, we weren't able to see that because, if the top order didn't get the runs, it's unfair to expect Washington Sundar to be able to get the runs. So I think they had to do that balancing act, and that's where they went in for Washington Sundar in case the ball starts to turn, and they went with Nitish Reddy.
It is into the all-rounders who in the past have contributed on this tour a little bit, especially from the MCG. So 6 wickets down is how you start the day, but India just were able to add only 16 runs. That's a thought that's going to be running in their heads, that just not enough runs on the board?
Well, maybe, in the second innings. It depends. Yeah. If they bowl Australia out, they've got enough runs. If they don't, they haven't. It's pretty much as simple as that. We've now seen 7 wickets fall in one session. This is a very tough surface to bat on, and I can't be critical at all of what happened in the to the tail there.
15 wickets fell yesterday. That's just the kind of test match that it really has been. And yes, there are wickets as far as India is concerned in their column, but there's still just 91 runs to get. You mentioned Pat Cummins. He has often, in big moments, led to the downfall of India, as is Travis Head, who will still be out there. We'll remind you of what has happened so far on the third day. Well, sorry for that. We just lost you some technicalities, but that was the voice of Sunny G finishing it up as well, that it is just 91 that is required. But there's just been a test match that has given us so many moments. You come back, as you always do in test cricket, and you think about those small moments. You think about things in retrospect. You think about things like team selection. But for India, if we think about the fact that Rohit Sharma came and spoke about why he had stepped down, one of the things that he had mentioned was that we want to be able to retain this. It is a very, very crucial series for us. Don't doubt the hunger. So the conversation going right now during lunch, without Jasprit Bumrah, it is Virat Kohli who's taking charge. The conversations in that dressing room right now, could you give us an indication of what you think it might be, sir?
Well, the conversations would be veering around what lines to bowl to Travis Head. More than to Khwaja, it'll be Travis Head. Khwaja will probably try to rotate the strike. Yes, he's looked to play the odd shot as well. And the fact that his nemesis is not around is a big relief. When you know there's a bowler who's taking you out all the time and he's not playing, he's got some injury, you actually start to feel just that little bit more relaxed. And you can see that in his movement as well. Against Bumrah, he was being pretty static. His feet haven't really moved. But against the other bowlers, he is looking to get a little bit forward. But Travis Head, and how to get Travis Head will be the question. What sort of field? You want fielders in catching positions. At the same time, you want fielders in areas where he's strong, where he will play those cut shots. The thing would be, don't give him any room. The other thing is he's been caught at square leg, looking to play that shot. So maybe do you want a square leg there, or do you want a fielder right in the boundary? Now, because you don't have too many runs, that is going to be a key thing. Do you want a gully for him, or do you not want a gully? Do you want a deep? All these things is what will be consuming the players. Make no mistake, they will maybe just have a little bit to eat, but they know the next hour and a half, this next session is going to decide the series. So lunch will be the farthest from their minds.
Is Travis Head having a full plate?
Anyone who tells me cricket's a simple game, it should be simple, but that's how complex it is. There'll be all these things running through the minds of both teams at the moment. It's just, and there's so much at stake. You said, Rohit said yesterday that we're all in it together, and it's so much at stake. But think about this. If India do lose, they lose the series 3-1, and that desperation to retain the trophy is no longer there. What I've learned in international cricket, if you lose series, heads usually roll. Someone is usually accountable for it. Now, if Australia lose today, they've lost a test match, the trophy goes back or stays with India, questions will be asked about Australia as well. That's why there's so much emotion and so much desperation, not just for our countries who are just thriving on this contest, but for all the individuals as well. Because when there's big series on the line, someone is always accountable at the end of it, and everyone in both dressing rooms will be knowing that right now.
Spoken like someone
That's
who
the
knows
pressure.
who's been in that
We've
situation.
been there as players, been there as coach, and that's what happens. No, there's accountability when you don't win series, and that's pretty much why everyone is so on edge at the moment.
Well, as broadcasters and fans and those of you who are waking up, you can just enjoy it, just relish the beauty of the series, the roller coaster that it's been on. So the overnight score, India were able to add only 16 runs. You saw the brilliance of Pat Cummins. What was the response when the Australian openers walked out? Take a look. It's an iconic one. It is the pink test. Today is Jane McGrath Day, which is why you've noticed the change in strip, even as far as India is concerned, and all of us are flouting for this great foundation, the McGrath Foundation. But on that note, we're going to take a breather, and guess who's having a lot of fun in Sydney? Not just us, but Irfan Pathan getting the best view of the city.
Batters have had problems.
Well, in the morning session from both innings, you really saw the run rate was 11. So conditions, are they conducive to the bowlers? What do they offer? Let's find out. Thank you so much for that, Jatin. Looks like the Pink Twins didn't share any memo with you, and clearly not with us either. But resilience really from both sides. 91 doesn't seem much when you've got a day's place, but what we've just seen from those conditions for Travis Head and Usman Khawaja, resilience from them too.
And I spoke to the Australian batters before the game, and they were very aware of how hard this pitch is to bat on. They'll also remember this time last year, Shamar Joseph, the West Indian who broke his toe. You talk about steel and courage and character, and he bowled the Australians out cheaply at the Gabbers.
It was a 200-run lead, and maybe Australia would have dominated that test match. But overall, we never felt that Australia had anything easy despite all these setbacks.
Level, they've got the victory. They've also now qualified for the WTC final.
There were massive questions, particularly after they got steamrolled by India in Perth, a venue where Australia have never lost before. So that was a setback, but they responded quickly in Adelaide in these shores. He was magnificent, and that's saying something because we've seen Richard Hadley and these sorts of bowlers come to these shores, but what he did almost single-handedly will go down in history. And then obviously he was missing here today, and India, they were hurt badly by that, and as a result Australia got the right result.
We will discuss all those moments of individual brilliance as well with you gentlemen. For the moment, let's cross over now and hear from both the teams, particularly Australia, who have won now the Border Gavaskar Trophy, get tilted back. Let's cross over to Isagu.
About Australian batting fragility, although Travis Head has come up with the goods at the right time, and even at the end as well, we had Steve Smith running into some form, few runs from Usman Khawaja when it mattered. But then they had to face a slightly easier bowling attack, barring Bumrah. When a team of Hazelwood left and Scott Boland came in. So this was a guy with skills, plus he was fresh as well. India's problem was also batting. Only twice in 9 innings they crossed 350. But same with Australia. They also didn't score.
Visceral words there from Sanjay Manjrekar. Force for good brought to you by Aditya Birla. Jail, it comes down to the partnership. Travis Head just...
Test match.
Sanjay also mentioned it, and so did you.
Team behind him, 5 for 30 for me, that was the standout there.
Sanjay, I love your ability to be able to draw in the crowds. As always, they're here for Sanjay Manjrekar, aren't they? Sanjay, let's look back in Perth. That was a stunning way to start the Border Gavaskar Trophy, especially for what was a new partnership. What for you was the moment or the significant innings or the performance that stood out?
Bumrah, because just imagine India batted first, got 150, and we were all so wary of the second innings, and I just love the way Jaiswal dug in. But if not for Bumrah and what he made happen in that first innings, I guess if India would have lost that particular test match, they would have been flattened a little earlier. But winning that test match and that first innings bowling performance was crucial for India being, worthy opponents for Australia.
That's where he also, took on the leadership. So it really was an extraordinary passage of play for Jasprit Bumrah. I said, we go to Adelaide, it's the pink ball, and all the little words that have been exchanged between Yashasvi Jaiswal and Mitchell Starc. Mitchell Starc with a... That's one of the things that Gautam pointed out was just in terms of contributions from India's first innings, just not being enough to always put them, on the front foot.
Yes, and I think when you're part of the team and when you're giving an official press conference, there are obvious, constraints that you have, and no coach is going to be brutally honest because that is really doing further damage to the team morale and whatever they have in mind. Indian batting just wasn't good enough. The youngsters rose to the occasion, which was the positive. We had Jaiswal, coming up with the good scale route to begin with, Nitish Kumar Reddy.
Significant partnerships from the top three. Where is the real